Hi again, welcome back to another one. Following on a little bit from last week's video where we got talking about crashes around the TT course, we've got a really interesting one about a very specific incident I attended actually 5 years ago now. It's a really interesting one, we'll get some detail on it, let's get straight into it. Before we get into the main topic of the video, one of the comments we got on one of the last ones was, is that an SP2 sat next to you? And no, it's not. It's an SP1. Close. One of my bikes, it's not the original thing, it's not Joey's original bike from 2000. It's a replica SP1 I picked up, God, 6 or 7 years ago now, and I've always been a massive fan of the SP1, always been a huge fan of the road bike and the race bike. And when this popped up for sale from a gentleman over on the east coast of England, he had a few bikes in his collection, including one of Rutter's V&M RC45s. And this had been used by himself and some guys he knows for parades and track days and things like that. So, yeah. He put up for sale and I just couldn't say no, so I got this. I rode it once at Derby just to make sure everything was okay with it. Had a little spin around there, and I always remember because I came out of the pits, and if you know Derby at all, we went clockwise out the pits, round the first section, and you lead onto a long right which goes onto the back straight. And I came onto the back straight, and next thing it started like bang off, like whap bap bap bap. I was like, what's wrong with it? And it was hitting the limiter because I've never raced a twin or rode a twin hard before. You just forget it's all talk and no revs, and I'm so used to all my racing careers on 600s, and it's all about revs. So yeah, I always remember that caught me out a little bit. But yeah, great bike. And then my brother rode it at the Manx Grand Prix parade lap that year. So I think it must have been 2017. I think only 2018, possibly 19 was maybe the last year that we did those parade laps. And we go out in the middle of that and try and sort of maintain some form of order. And I've done a video before about parade laps and how things go wrong in those. We let people on the track who think they know where they're going but don't necessarily do. But yeah, brother Stewie had a run round on it. Bit of a surprise present to him. I've bought this and I've got you an entry for parade laps. He lives in the UK now, in England, so get yourself over and get out for a lap. And got a really nice picture of him here jumping over Ballaugh Bridge on it. So yeah, bit of history about this one. I love this bike. Just need to get out on it more really, but she's not road legal, so it's tracks only. But yeah, the main topic of the video. So I've been going back through some of my notes. 2019, I can't believe it's 5 years ago, but just another normal day on the job. It was a lightweight race, 2019, and I'm in position at Douglas Road Corner, Michael. And I couldn't remember this morning, but I started reading through my notes and things. Lap 2, the first 20, 30 maybe come through, and then you get the buzz on the radio. And when our radios go off, we all get it at the same time. All the travel marshals get the call, so we all hear what's going. And you can normally tell from the tone and the pace of the message initially that it could be an incident. Sometimes you'll get a message and it'll just be a case of an observation or something like that, and there's a little bit more of a calm tone to it. And after you've been in the job for a while, you start to pick up on those little differences. And yeah, you get that message and it'll be race control to Mike, and you're sort of waiting for your number to come up. And I got it that year. Mike 5, incident Ballaugh Bridge. Now, Ballaugh Bridge is a really strange one. There's quite a lot of accidents at Ballaugh Bridge because of what a unique kind of place that is to negotiate a motorbike at race speeds. You don't really see a place like that anywhere else. And even last year there was an incident out at TT. Marie Costello came off. Darren went to that one. She got up and walked away. No problem. That's quite often the case there. People either mess it up on the landing or things like that. But the approach to Ballaugh Bridge is really fast, as you probably know. And it's dead easy to outbrake yourself, just trying to steal a little bit of time on the brakes. And it's dead easy to just get the line wrong, and there's no room for error then, you see. So in this case, rider Ray Maloney, and I've spoke to Ray a few times since the accident. We've talked about what happened on the day and his recovery, because this is a really serious incident that did not look good at the time. Massively unfortunate. Ray landed basically on the top of his head. And going back to my involvement in this, I get the shout, go to Ballaugh Bridge incident. So you make your way there, you arrive over the bridge, park on the left of the lay-by, and Ballaugh Bridge is a well-marshalled spot, and most of the time as well there's doctors and paramedics there too. So they're to him and dealing with Ray far faster than I can ride a motorbike between Kirkmichael and Ballaugh Bridge. So obviously up on the mountain or something like that, sometimes when you get to him you'll be the first person to give him any kind of just medical check or care. But you crash at Ballaugh Bridge, there's going to be a doctor there before I'm there. So doctors are with him, unconscious, nothing too unusual with that. Helmet's off, and they're starting to deal with his injuries. He's struggling to breathe, we can see this. And within not too long of me getting there, Air Med arrive. More doctors on the case. He's in the best care he can have now with everything we've got. But the biggest problem we had was we just couldn't get him stable enough to move him. It was really, really touch and go. And the thing is with crashes around here is, one of the things that surprised me most about crashes on the TT course is the amount of people who have crashes and walk away. I couldn't believe how many it happens to, but I guess when you're a spectator or involved in it in a lesser way, you might hear if someone's had a crash here or a crash there on a certain night of practice, but because they walked away, nothing's made of it. Because nobody's now out of the event through injury. Nobody's, as happens, has died, and obviously that makes massive news. When you walk away, it's forgotten about really quickly by both the riders themselves, because you need to, and the team and the public and everyone else. And like I said, we couldn't get him stable enough to move for the entire race. I remember we were there for the entirety of the race. It was this happened, so it's the middle of the second lap, so there's still a couple of laps to go. After the entire race, we worked and worked and worked to get him in a stable enough state to move. And that's the first time where we've had to take that long to get someone stable. Like I mentioned in that video about Lee Johnston, he took a while, but half an hour. It's a lap and a half, isn't it? There's no time constraint on it. It's just, if we move this person now, it's way too risky. So that's how long it took. And Ballough's a bit of a tricky one because obviously a lot of spectators there too. So it's not ideal working on them right there at the side of the road, just from that point of view. But that's just the way it is, and that's what we had to do. But I remember riding away from that incident thinking, he's not going to make it. You know, like that sounds really harsh, but he just did not look well. He wasn't well. Like I say, we basically lost him a couple of times, and even when we got to the point stable enough to move, it was stable enough to move. And yeah, if you had to be a better man, you know, you'd just be like, it doesn't look good. And I remember we rode to Ramsey then, and there was a break between the two races, and because I'd been held up on that for so long, stayed in Ramsey and had lunch with a couple of other TMs. I remember being sat there thinking, this just wasn't good, you know, it was really not a good one, and he's not going to, don't think he'll make out of this one. I'm obviously no doctor, I'm no expert, but yeah, it didn't look good for Ray at all. So it turns out what Ray's actually gone and done is he's had an internal decapitation, and effectively his skull and his spine have separated, and it's just the muscles and the skin holding the two together. As you can imagine, it's a horrendous injury with a massive fatality rate. But somehow he survived it, and he sent me an X-ray. Ray sent me an X-ray of the work they did inside. And if you ever see this kind of fixing between the skull and the spine, it tends to be to stabilise a fracture, to hold it all together in a place where it can mend. But this was literally just a case of let's screw his skull back onto his spine because it needed to be reattached. And it sounds crazy, and before Ray's incident, I'd never heard of this before, but I looked into it, and yeah, it happens a lot in car crashes. and like the survival rate's not great. However, people do survive it, and Ray survived it, and multiple months, firstly in a coma, out of the coma, unable to speak, communicating through blinking of eyes, twitching of toes, slowly getting things back, eventually talking again, walking again. He's been back on the island. Some pictures here of Ray at Ferry Bridge, meeting with some of the AirMed crew, some of the travelling marshals, Dr. Gareth Davies. So amazing that the recovery Ray made from it. Just one of those ones where, like I say, you just think, you've got no chance. And everyone does everything they can. Everyone puts a massive amount of work in, and nobody will ever give up on anybody in that situation until it's completely, gone. But yeah, just one of those ones where someone says to me, "What's the biggest one you've been to where they had the worst injuries?" And you thought, no chance, and they survived it. And that's Ray Maloney. Lucky boy. And we've been talking again, even the last week since we did the last video, and we talked about doing this one. He sent me loads of stuff about it, and he's hoping to be back over this TT or Grand Prix, and hopefully we'll meet up and have a chat, because when he was lying there at the side of that road and they flew him off in a helicopter, I was like, there's no way in a million years I'm ever talking to this guy. But yeah, just a good news story, because they're not always good news. In fact, most of the time when they're in that kind of situation and they're that ill, they don't tend to be good news. Again, that's just the blunt reality of the job. Also, it makes a really good point in that it doesn't matter how bad it is, you don't give up. Everyone does everything they can, and 2 months down the line, it's like, is there any improvement? It's like, no, he's still in a coma. But another couple of months went by and he came out of it, and just through his own sheer determination and bloody mindedness, he's got himself fit, walking, driving, and yeah, it's just a good news story, which is always nice. So yeah, that's just a quick one. Hopefully it wasn't too long. But yeah, thanks to Ray for sending me all the pictures. Thanks to Ray and everybody else who gave me information on this one, so I could share it with you guys. And hopefully you enjoyed it. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.